Call please.
Mayor Grant,
Here.
Dean,
Here.
Gaston,
Here.
Ron.
Yes.
Observe with me, a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted on the wall here in the council chambers. It's also available in pamphlet form upon request at City Hall and can be found in the link that's provided in this agenda. Our only item tonight is to discuss the 2026-2027 budget for Park, Pool, and Community Building this evening. And we do have the Park Board joining us. Thank you.
But not a quorum.
No, we had a quorum earlier, and we had our meeting.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Sure.
We
Just-
voted on what we're.
I just wanna make it clear to the video.
Oh, sure,
Good.
sure.
That way they know who's on the audience.
We're a quorum, you're not.
Yeah, no.
Yes, yes.
That's
All right, I didn't know if you have a place you wanted to start, but I thought maybe I'd start with the community building, since that one is a little bit of an easier, budget to get through. It's fairly straightforward. All right, so, we did not budget any other revenue, as we have not in the past. Fees and charges, I put at $2,500, which is probably pretty close to what we've had in the past couple of years. Nothing in donations, nothing in interest income. Transfers, I assume Jane figures that all out. Nothing in rent. The grant for $10,000, I think, was a very good idea to have in place. And we actually have some grant expenses in the down farther that you'll be able to look at, and we'll discuss that then. Don't have a CD, and there are no insurance claims, as far as I know. All right, into the expenses. We looked at the $2,000 that we had budgeted this last year. Appears to be very much what we've been over what we've been expending, so I don't think you need to change that. And then the payroll tax is 153 is based on that. With the fact that you'll be hiring a new person to clean that, I think we don't need to add any retirement, is that right? Because it's a part-time position? Right. Okay. So I took that out, and then the employee benefits at zero. Contractual services, I left the $1,600 as they were. Those are things that, come up, and sometimes we have to cover those things. Depreciation, dues and fees, and fuel I left at zero. Under the insurance, I checked with Jane, and I just rounded it to $5,200, should cover us for the next year. What she put in there was pretty close. Professional fees, I didn't put anything in there. Publications and advertising, I put $150 in there. First of all, I know you guys, sometimes you have to advertise stuff, so.
I'm gonna have you pause.
Yes.
So, is this another member of your board?
No,
Tony? Okay.
so Moni's coming, she's a pool board member.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I was,
She's committee member.
if, I was just making sure, cause if you had a quorum, then we would have to call roll,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, no,
Yes,
no.
okay,
And I don't think our
Thank
other
you.
board members will be coming back, so.
Okay.
okay.
Okay, thank you for bringing it forward. So pubs and advertising, I actually put in $150, and then maintenance. So one of our discussions in our board meeting is finding ways to gain a fund of money to do maintenance and be forward-looking at things that come forward. And so we're interested in putting $1,000 in that line item. One to be used or possibly set aside. I don't know if that's, I mean, we talked to Jane about it a little bit. She said, oh yeah, we can, put the savings account aside or something like that. So that's one of the things that we'd like to consider. If nothing else, we have probably some maintenance, concerns in the back on the door and the deck. So, and I think Jane's put that under capital improvement, so I never know where those actually go, but I think $1,000 is a reasonable place to start. Repairs to the building, I left that at $1,000, and system repairs, which would be big systems within the building, I left it at $10,000. Supplies we left at $500. I didn't see, we haven't been spending that much. I did put in $500 under grant expense, because I know that the chamber has been asking questions about, can we get some signs, and I know the signage in front of that building is not very good right now. It's kind of deteriorated, so if there's a way for us to get a grant and to expend some funding for grant signage, that would be something I think we would really like to consider.
How much did you say that?
I put 500 in there. CD, as far as I know, there aren't any. I kept the same for utilities, the $4,600, and I realized we had a very warm winter last year, so probably didn't expend as much as we made this year. Nothing under other or capital outlay, but the capital improvements is again one of those places that we've talked about, trying to find some funds to set aside, and so the group said $6,000 is what they wanted to put in there, so that's, and Jane's actually put in there potential payment for the parking lot. I mean, there are some things that need to be repaired, so if we can find a way to set aside some funds, we'd love to do that. Questions on?
I'm sorry, how much was that again?
6,000, yeah. And you can take copies of these after if you want.
So did you come up with, a budget that's the same numbers as last year as far as total?
No, we're a little bit over that because of, and I can tell you which line items are different here. So we decreased the retirement by $60, but we increased the insurance, $1,118, put in publication advertising at $150, the maintenance at $1,000, $500 under grant expense, and then $6,000 for capital improvements. That's the differences in the budget.
So a total budget difference of?
If that's what you wanted.
Because what last year was 57.6.
You're looking at 78, 50.
Why 70?
She's got 6,000, 1,000.
Oh, but what you're saying is the new number?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I'm finally following you, thank you.
So the new number expenditures was $32,703. Is that what you got?
Okay, just a second. What did you say the new number was?
$32,703.
For the total budget?
Total expenditures. I didn't do the income side of that.
Well, the income side is, what'd you say, 2,500?
2,500, and then the 10,000 grant, that's what I had, and then I don't, transfers is whatever it is.
Not coming up with that much, Jenny. I don't know where
Okay.
I'm missing that.
Okay.
What do we have for last year's total total community building budget? Jane, you're working on it, thank you.
Looks like 23,990, well, that's, yeah, not total, that's not doing, I was doing expenses and revenue differently. 23,995
Right.
was last year's budget, or the
Right.
current year's budget.
And you're asking for 33, you said?
32,703.
Well, to be upfront, we went through a couple different departments, and in every department, we've told them that they've needed to cut. We need to cut in every department so that we can start, more responsible funding.
Every non-essential department.
And, you know, this does fall under that category from my perspective. Would you agree, council?
I would say that for less than $2,500 of use, that it's far beyond, just soaking the city for anything and everything that it's worth.
Sure.
So explain to me a couple things here. Your grant expense, are you expecting there to be some revenue from this grant expense? I mean, is this money you're investing to get back, is what you're thinking, or what are you doing here?
I've got on the income side, potential of 10,000 grant. Yes, and so those would only be expended if there were a grant. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm assuming the 500 you're referring to is what it would take to put together riders and whatever else costs to apply for those.
Yes.
Is that what you're alluding to?
Can they be written into the grant themselves so we can get rid of that? I mean, can that $500 be written into the grant?
Okay, so if it's expended, this is where I don't understand. So if a grant expense, would that not be part of your grant income? If you write a grant and it's for a sign,
You write that into the grant,
yes.
so there won't be an expense, I mean, it'll be written into the grant, I mean, I see what you're saying.
If the grant comes through the city though, it goes into the city, into
So you're
the,
correct in thinking that if the city has to pay for the money up front and then we would have to be reimbursed later, then yes, we'd have to have it in the budget.
or.
Because it would
yeah,
transaction through the
Yeah.
city.
Yes,
But I think what he's trying to ask is if it's included in the grant, then it wouldn't necessarily have to come through both of those levels of the budget.
Okay.
But I think that all depends on which grant is available and what, so it's not,
Okay,
I think it's reasonable to have it in there.
Okay.
I guess the reason why I wanted to make this statement is we gave, what was it, the library,
$6,000 cut.
right, but that, what was the percentage that we came down to? 10%, so then we wanted them to do a 10% cut from what this year's numbers were. So 10% out of the 23,995 is where we wanted them to try and be.
Okay.
And that's a big difference in the long run, especially where you were asking for additional funds in addition to what we had this year. I don't think that it would be
That's like
extremely detrimental for what you have on here. You know, we have repairs to systems 10 grand on here. There's many times where we don't use that whole 10 grand, so you could cut, you know, big
Sure.
chunks out of things through that. If we have another warm year, your utilities will help save you there too. You know, there's some stuff that we can be, that not budget for, I guess is the way to put that, so that you're within that budget, but that doesn't mean that it might not happen in the long run and then we just don't have it budgeted. So, things for everyone to think about.
capital improvements, I just don't see that's gonna happen, I don't know.
okay, so our board did not get any of the instruction about cutting. I mean, I have been worked with people in different groups and they'll say, okay, just now, you need to know, as you go into the process, do this. That would have been helpful for us
Sure.
to know.
Well, and as we've started these meetings, this is what we've
Okay,
come
so we're
across.
gonna come back? and-
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
that's part of my questions,
correct.
is to, you know, you want us to do.
This isn't, today is not final.
Yes, okay, good to know.
This is workshop.
Now, this, currently, that $10,000 grant is offset with repairs to systems. Which
So it's
is why
now,
that was.
So that was, okay.
Now, if you wanted to make the grant 10.5, so that it covers repairs to systems and signage, I mean, that would make.
Okay, and I did not understand that piece, okay, I can write that one down, so I understand what you're talking
Could have been, probably, should be put all of it into 10.5 should probably be in.
about. Okay,
Grant expenses and grant revenue.
So,
If it happens.
I don't know, I'm looking at these numbers and the citizens of Crawford told us that we had to cut back. And I see this building as a huge waste, and I think it needs to be repurposed into something else. That's what I think needs to happen. So, but the problem is I have no idea what numbers to even throw at this to renovate the building for what the city needs it to be.
Generally, it takes a visioning process. What do we want? And then you work through that. Have you thought about having somebody come in and help you do that?
Yes.
Yeah, but it all costs money to,
Always think of my
like
education
an
friends.
architect or something to, you know, redesign things.
Sure,
And I know you know what I'm talking about, cause
Yes.
I've mentioned it to you.
yes.
And I think it would be fantastic for the city, but I don't know where to go with it, but this doesn't make sense, and I completely understand that what it gets used for is funerals, because we have big funerals around here, but that can't be my concern as a councilman sitting on this council trying to keep the city afloat.
Well, and then two, for the Parks Department, I mean, really, your department is all three of these. It's a huge hit on your department. I mean, it's all liability. It's, you make hardly anything back. And
Right.
unfortunately, your department is heavy with that anyway. And so if there's a way that we can reverse that or re-engineer it in a way that it's not gonna be another dead leg you're dragging along, that'd be excellent, cause that's gonna help your entire department function better.
And
Okay.
plus, by repurposing that building, it would reduce the expenses of all the departments.
So you want us to lead a visioning process, is that what you're saying, to try and figure
I'm
out?
not
Not
asking
necessary,
you,
no.
no, I mean, I know what I have in my head.
Mhm.
I think that I guess I would be willing to, meet with your whole board at some point. And we could meet over there and actually discuss, I could lay out what my plans would be, and we could try to figure something out. And then where to go from there, but I have no idea what money to put in.
Right, into
In
those,
this budget.
those labels, yeah. And I do think it's one of those items that, well, the sooner we do it, the better, because
Mhm.
things only get more expensive every year as we go,
Sure.
for that matter alone.
Mhm.
The sooner we do it, the sooner we cut back on utilities for all departments, insurance for almost all departments. I mean, it really could affect the city as a whole and really start putting us on a path where we're not expending and using as much money as we are now. And if that's something that that can be done within this
Mhm.
specific building,
The
we need to
financial,
be thinking big enough that we could impact it, and then instead of, one would only hope that asking every single department to cut by 10% is enough, but it's not. I mean, that's just enough to get functional again, but we need to think big picture and
Okay.
long-term, and the reuse of that building to be something else is more of a big picture, long-term solution of how do we really cut back on, cause when we give you guys these budgets, you really can't change your utilities.
Yeah.
But with this concept, you can. That's something where we can change those big bills into something different.
I mean, the savings is if we go this route and it's all said and done, the savings are gonna be off the charts.
Realistically, I don't even know if you can budget for this year though, can you?
I mean,
I mean,
you
realistically.
can't, I mean, we'd have to get those projected numbers, or an
That's just
estimate
where I'm
of an
at.
estimate, we'd
Exactly.
have to get that.
Yes.
And if we could get that in the next, before this, we finalize, we could.
Coming right around the corner.
It is.
You know, trying to get somebody in here in that short of term is gonna be hard.
Right,
I'm just trying to be realistic here. I
understandable.
agree with you 100%.
And we've asked an individual and they're working on it, they just couldn't make it happen by tonight. But again, it's not an official bid, it's not any of that, it's just would you give us an estimate of an
Right,
estimate, so
right,
we'd even
100%.
know how far to throw the rock,
Whether it's even
right?
doable.
If we've got the arm for it.
I doubt there's any kind of grant funding for this
Probably
project,
not.
but
The good thing
But we
is
could,
if
we could get a loan,
yes,
and by selling the other properties once we're consolidated, doing that and the savings on just the utilities and the insurance, I mean, we'd be able to
utilities
pay,
insurance would make the payment easily.
I think we could make the payment and pay it off within a very short
I
amount
do
of
too.
time.
Mhm.
I really do.
Sure save us a lot on insurance.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So how do we go going forward? We just leave these all as is?
I think it would be great as backup to leave exactly what you've suggested, because if we decide that this is not something that's within the next year possible, because we just can't get the timeline to align, then we would need to rely on this. And I don't think this is all that far off. I think we could easily help you make that 10% happen within the next 15 minutes if we really needed to push it.
I mean, just as a for instance, until we actually have blueprints, you can't ask an electrician, an HVAC, or a plumber to give you an estimate
No,
on it.
correct.
That's the first start, is getting an architect to get you some blueprints drawn up.
I just think we're gonna run out of time, guys. I agree with you, but I just,
I mean, we can certainly write in,
But it's one of
A big
those
number
things that
isn't
you don't
in and
have to
out.
have it done within the
Just in
next
case.
budget year, but it's written in if it needs to be
Yeah.
started.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think
agree, but
that's
I just-
the
I don't know that
concept.
Yeah, I just don't know that the numbers are gonna get here that fast. When do we have to have these submitted by September?
September
our,
31st.
our budget guy will want them by August.
And we just
the
need
end
an
of August.
estimate of an
Yeah.
estimate for that.
Right.
You know, we would need
So
just
we've got-
what that ballpark's gonna be.
We've got 2.5 weeks here, so.
Right.
I'm all for it, 100%.
I'm waiting on-
I agree with you. didn't
I
know we
reached
had-
out to an architect and just gave him the square footage of the building and said, I just need an estimated cost of what your part's gonna be, and I haven't heard back.
So for the park board, what we do then right now, just leave that, she's got it written, and then we can readdress this after our final, right?
Right, and we can even, I mean, if we need to meet up again before, then we can too.
Yes,
So
and
let's-
that'd be awesome, if, cause I would love to, I think we're gonna have as many questions on the other ones.
Sure,
Okay,
sure,
let's just.
Sure.
All right.
let's do that.
sure.
Thank you.
Alright, let's go on parks. So I'm looking at the other revenue, I know we've got a large number expended there, but that was based on what was happening at the rodeo grounds, as I understand.
Mhm.
And so this is always hard for me to explain to the board, it's like, should we be budgeting for those things or not? Or are you going to be able to take some of that on? 'Cause I'm not involved in that process. And so if that's zero, that's what I have.
Where that was budgeted so that it could be taken care of, and it's been
Okay.
taken care of as much as we could budget.
Okay,
And so that, you could consider that a complete project within this year.
okay,
And whatever needs to be considered for anything beyond what we've been able to complete as of today, needs to be a separate project that's separately budgeted.
yes. But I don't have any of those numbers, so hopefully you.
Well, and there's
you
no
don't.
plan in the works.
Okay.
I mean, there was ideas, but where there's no money, it's not
Okay. I
made
actually,
any further.
in the fees and charges line, I moved that up to $5,000 because I see that we have been, increasing our revenues from our camping. So it's a more realistic number, so more money there. Building,
One second.
Questions?
One
Five
second.
thousand.
Did you guys up your rates out there, or are they still?
no, we haven't done that.
What are the rates?
That's a James.
It's like
I
10,
forgot.
It's $10
10,
Huh?
20 for.
10 and 20.
10 to 20, yeah.
No, a small town in Nebraska recently said that they raised theirs, after being 20 for many, many, many years, they've raised theirs to 30.
Well, I don't think that's entirely inappropriate
Right.
to
Something we need to look at.
to read.
Especially since electricity rates have
Way more than
skyrocketed.
that. Right.
All right, let me write that one down.
And that's something that we can change this
Yes.
year and implement before the new budget year too, so that
Well,
way it's
that-
100%.
We should do that during the revenue part of this.
Sure.
We should make a
That's what I'm thinking.
recommendation and then
Sure,
we can vote,
yes.
just like we did at the.
Okay.
Yes,
Yes.
So-
agreed.
let me write this down. All right. I got it. All right, the rentals and the interest income and I didn't do anything else until I got to grant proceeds, and again, there was $83,000 in there. I don't know what in particular that was for, 'cause I don't know that we put that in there,
Which one's the 83?
the grant proceeds.
Well, I think that was,
Trying to think of the discussion that we had a year ago about this.
well, it was probably in regards to the rodeo grounds and what we hoped to
Yeah.
come across.
It was 50,000 for the rodeo bleachers, we were hoping, yeah. And then there was water sprinklers and all different kinds of things to make up the other 33.
Okay.
But no grant was given?
None was found and none was used.
found, none was used, there you go.
I guess, does it hurt to leave some grant income potential in there, or?
Now, we will need to, this is park, so we will need to, put in our $110,000 tree grant, cause that will be in the process in this year. They're starting the removal this fall, so we will need to put that 110K in there, so if we want to make anything more than that, we'll need to add it to the 110K, cause that is already
Okay.
awarded. We've already been awarded that and the work will start, so the money, that is money that will, we need to verify that, that might be money that has to come in.
So years ago when Larry Olson.
But it might not, so we need to verify that.
Okay.
Years ago when Larry Olson was on, he found a grant to, fix up down by the stream, down by the pool, to fix that all up and put a path down there.
Okay.
I don't know whatever come of it, got poo-pooed or what happened, but is there money from the grant, this was through the, Forest Service is who this was through. Is there grants to be had through the Forest Service, do you know?
Well, the tree grant, that's
Yeah,
one of them.
That is
yeah,
one of them.
that was one of them, that
And
needs to improve your
Something else
parks.
that we need to include in there
Yes.
also is the potential for what they wanted, what we've just met with them on the pond.
Yes,
So whether or not those funds need to be funneled through the city, we'll need to ask them, or if it's independent of the city, then we don't need to include them.
exactly.
So we'll need to verify, the project that they wanna start and that they wanna help the city with, as far as
Do-
cleaning out the pond in the park and
Mhm.
restocking all that fish. So we'll need to find out what that estimated amount is, and if that would need to be funneled through the city to complete, or if it would be 100% independent of the city.
Mhm. Yes, and there are.
Because I think
other
when I
kinds of-
originally spoke to him, he talked about some labor, like he would ask us to provide labor and whatnot, and that might be the minimal
Maybe
cost,
after
but
hours and, use of a piece of, city equipment, the dump truck, basically.
Okay. so yeah, I don't remember it being a large amount on the city's portion, that would be just city only.
Didn't sound like it was going
Yeah,
to be, yes.
yeah. Okay, so we'll need to verify that with him so that we know
Yes.
if we need to add that or not. I think those are the only two
That's the only two that we've got in
that would be
place right
required to
now.
park.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So, before we move on, if we are going to discuss raising the rent for the camping,
Mhm.
do we have any idea how many times somebody used an electric site?
Yeah,
Oh,
but there's
yeah.
pages and pages of it.
Yeah, I haven't been back through that, I asked Jane for that, because I think one of the things is, we're talking with Doug yesterday, he was very thoughtful in thinking some bigger stuff, and one of the things he mentioned was park paths and stuff. And so, I don't know if there's a way to get some cooperation with Game and Parks to help do those improvements. There is a Game and Parks grant that would fit that very well, sure,
So that we can compete with them? So,
not quite as much, but yeah, it'd be pretty close.
We
so
can handle
our,
their run over.
our
Yeah.
electric,
Yeah.
our electric sites also have water, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, and dump station too, so.
and we have a
Yes.
dump station,
Yes.
but, so, at the fort, they're $35 a night, but that's with water, sewer, and electric. So, we need to kind of be thoughtful there as far, I don't know, the old campground, what's that called? The old part?
Soldier,
Yeah, so, no,
no?
is it?
It's not
Yeah,
the
anyway,
original-
right there by the
Oh,
highway and all
Yeah,
that.
that's
so-
So those are just water and electric, and I don't know what those rates are, but we probably shouldn't go
Over that.
over what they're charging. Cause they have a dump station too.
Mhm.
And that would be good.
I just don't,
That's
maybe,
a social
maybe
free-
30, maybe.
I'm sure I could find out pretty quickly,
That Silver Creek campground that you're talking about.
Okay.
yes. Cause that's a little bit older and
Mhm.
not,
And then Red Cloud and then the marijuana.
And it's down there too close to the river, so they couldn't put
Full
sewer
hookup
down
is
there.
26 to 35 per night, electric plus is 30 per night, electric is 25 per night, and basic is 15.
So we could
So we could do 10 and
compete with,
25.
we could compete with them at 30
Or that,
for,
yeah.
for our electric sites.
Mhm.
But we're right on $10 with the camping, right?
But
Just
they have to
10
leave
camp-
cash in there, that would be a pain, so just 10 would probably be okay.
And we don't
You're
charge
15.
that just to get into Crawford.
Well, they do have 15
Like you
here.
have to pay
Yeah.
for it.
Basic.
No.
For basic.
Right.
Actually,
Di-
guys, if they want to, they can put shoes or this or that too.
Diane made a good point. We don't make them buy a pass to get into Crawford.
Yeah, sure. Well, then you could still do 15 and 30 then.
I'd do 15.
That's still, I mean, that's matching, it's not, it is technically cheaper because you don't have to do the pass, but it's not more expensive
Sure.
for consideration and recommendation.
So however, that's gonna change the fees and charges. I don't know, cause we'd have to, kind
and I can do that, that doesn't take me very long to figure that out.
of, okay.
I've done it a couple of times.
I make an observation, there was 2 trailers that stayed there for between 4 and 6 weeks, cause they had family here. Now, I don't know if another 300 a month would make any difference to them, but, yeah, they stayed there for, the one stayed for at least a month, and the other just left, and they'd been there a month.
So, state of Nebraska says you can only stay for 2 weeks.
Yeah, they might
That's,
say
that's
that.
state law.
And then
They
Well, they got moved.
Yeah,
They
you
gotta
gotta
move.
move it.
Okay.
Still, if you take those 2 out,
on all that,
this looks way different.
sure.
That 41 drops down to 3 something.
Okay.
Okay.
You know, if they were proper.
Mhm.
All right, so I can rework those numbers, and hopefully that would come up a little bit, that'd be awesome.
Okay. Thank you.
And I see we had, $500 under donations, and I think we got 200 from Wichita, which is, I think that's the first time that's happened, so.
Wonderful.
So I just kept it at 500.
Sure.
Yeah, the other one is Rock Club, and they'll be doing that later.
Oh,
today.
yeah, okay,
They usually get like 5.
okay. Do I need to raise that then?
Well, I doubt it.
Don't want you, okay, so stick with 5, and we're
Sure.
pretty good, okay. All right, so we looked at wages and expenses, and, I asked Kevin his wish list, and then, I added a little bit of my own. And so let me grab my sheet paper here that tells me that. So Kevin's request is that we have 2 seasonals that would work 44 days a month for 5 months each. So that's 220 days, and your 8-hour days times $15 is $26,400 for wages for 2 seasonals. Then I looked at
That's the
what,
whole season, right?
yes,
And then Kevin's gonna take the summer off.
no, we are going to add in a little bit for Kevin. He is the #1 most complimented employee out and about. So the board said, let's give him a 5% raise. I worry that he will decide to fish somewhere else. So, that would put his salary at $42,640. So I added those two numbers together and came out with $69,040. To go with that, payroll taxes looks like $5,300. And retirement at $2,071. Benefits, I don't know that I understand that very well. If we've only spent $30 this year, I'm not sure why that is, but I went ahead and put it at $4,500. Because that's just a slight increase. No unemployment, kept contractual services the same at $500. Nothing under depreciation. It looks like we spent a little bit on dues and fees that we had not budgeted for, so I went ahead and put $500 in there. Again, I hadn't heard the cutting the budget part, so we're trying to be responsible in a lot of ways, but that one I didn't add. Fuel, I put in at $7,000, so that's a bit of an increase. Insurance looks like $10,000 will cover our insurance for now. I kept the professional fees at 0. Publications and advertising, 700 would more closely cover what we've spent this year, so that's what I put in. Maintenance, 2,500. Vehicle repairs, 2,500. Building repairs, that was one that we had this last year, and so it's again one of those thought things, like, we probably ought to start finding a way to budget for those kinds of things, so I put 3,000 in. System repairs, kept it at 600.
So, just so you
Yes.
know, the only building down there in the park
Mhm.
that has insurance on it is his shop.
Okay,
All the fish hatchery stuff is no longer insured.
Yeah.
We figured that was a waste.
you're
So-
not in them very much, yeah.
Oh, but nothing's in
So,
them.
the reason that I bring it up now is, we probably shouldn't be doing any kind of maintenance or repairs on those buildings. If they're not insured, that would be foolish to waste money on those buildings.
Okay.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
I got the system repairs in at 600, kept that there. Equipment repairs, looking at what we've got to repair, we upped that to 2,000. Rodeo grounds has not been budgeted before, so I left that the same. Sales and lodging tax, I increased to $500. It'll be based on, and I can redo that based on whatever those new fees look like. Supplies, increased a little bit to $4,000. Nothing under shop supplies. Irrigation supplies at 2,000 and equipment supplies at 2,000. Herbicide supplies, that one we increased with Kevin's recommendation to $1,000. Uniform allowance can go down to 150 if we don't have more than one full-time employee. And then that parks grant, that $33,000, and again, this is where you gotta help me with the grant piece. Do we need to?
That was what you were hoping to find last year.
Yeah,
Because the
okay.
other half of that was, or the other part of that was the rodeo that we put in for 50.
Okay,
And this is the part that you guys requested last year, which was the 33. You wanted to find a grant to help
Okay.
renovate the park bathrooms, and do window repair and painting at the fish hatchery, and then you wanted $1,000 hose room.
okay.
So that's what you guys have listed for that 33,000.
Well, it certainly wouldn't be bad to leave that in there. I was trying to get somebody put together to put that grant forward, because I think we have some opportunities with the Game and Parks grants. that are open right now. So we've talked about that a little bit in our meeting, I just gotta get some money to put it forward, so.
So can I go back a little bit? So I'm confused about the buildings. You know, if we don't start taking care of buildings around town and everything, there's gonna be another balloon building where it's gonna
Most of them
cost,
already are.
well, it's gonna cost a lot more to tear them down than to do a little upkeep on and everything. Say no repairs, no maintenance on and everything, does that mean some
That's not every building in town. That's
Does that
just
mean-
the
yeah.
ones that do not have full insurance on
Well,
them.
does that mean some volunteers couldn't go down there and
Spray paint,
do some painting, fix some windows and everything at no cost to the city?
So, that's always welcome.
Okay.
And my apologies for feeling a little caught off guard by part of that question. You're not being unreasonable by any means. And by when you guys say, you know, we were surprised to hear about cuts. I feel like that's all I talk about, is that the city has no money.
Right.
And that we barely have enough to go every month by month, to make
Yes.
payroll and to make our bills.
Sure.
Yet every single department that has come forward magically requests more money, which needs to come from somewhere.
Sure.
But they don't list anything in what they are generating to come in. And that's impossible. And that needs to be understood citywide. And it also needs to be understood to our constituents. And it isn't. Because we put out in the spring, in the primary, that we need sales tax to be raised. If you don't wanna pay for it in property taxes, and you don't wanna pay for it individually as much as possible, the city still needs more money to fund what we have going on. And we're just trying to fund the bare minimum, just the bare minimum. And the citizens spoke and they don't want to, which is unfortunate, because that was the only way with sales tax to split that cost with people who visit the area, as opposed to us being penalized to pay for it all by ourselves.
Yeah.
Extremely disappointing
The
that didn't
problem
go
with it,
through.
I wish there had been a little bit more, this is why we gotta do it, this is why we gotta do it, for the sales tax.
Well,
You get
we
people from the
certainly,
county,
we did what we
travel and
could when
stuff.
we were allowed to speak of it,
Uh-huh.
and if you go back to the meetings, I'm sure it gets really redundant and monotonous. But the problem with that though, is if people don't come across the meeting, don't come to the meeting, don't watch the meeting, they don't know about what we've said. And so it only goes so far. And that's the disappointing part, is that they wanna participate with their vote, but they don't wanna participate with arming themselves with the knowledge that they need to, so that their vote is a responsible vote. And that's just disappointing. But we're in this boat, and we don't have the additional money. And we're doing everything we can creatively to try and come up with new ways that we can set up everything so that we might have funds to take care of what we have, so that we don't have the trouble that we have now. Exactly what you're speaking of, Kevin, because we don't. We really don't want to be in the case where it's like, well, don't touch it, too much of a liability. That's a horrible thing to feel like we're in that situation. And I don't think that that's necessarily 100% of what we're asking for you guys to do. You don't need to ignore buildings that aren't being insured, but you need to understand where the city stands as far as what we can be financially responsible for, what we can financially maintain, and where that line exists, so that way we don't run ourselves into more trouble and can afford even less. But we also know, hey, we've got a good supply of volunteers, and we know that would be a really good area for us to focus our volunteers with. We know that that's a huge area where the city can't cover our back, and that's where we can really focus our volunteers. So I guess that's how I would present that to you, is it doesn't mean you have to completely ignore it. It doesn't mean that we want you to just let it rot, burn down, whatever it may be. That's not the case. But we want you to understand what the city is capable with what we have in our pocket, to be able to protect, to be able to maintain. And right now it sucks, because it's really strapped. I mean, we have no McDonald's money. It's really, we don't even have hamburgers at home money. But I think you understand that quite well, and I think you've worked really well and really hard at with the volunteers that come forward to help you. You are very fortunate in your department compared to other departments and the volunteers that you do get, because they're really interested in doing all that park outdoor work, the fun, hardworking stuff that, you know, is easier to do for somebody else than maybe at home or whatever it may be. You know, but I don't think you're on the wrong, you don't have the wrong idea, in the sense that would be perfect for those volunteers to focus on. And I don't think that that's anything the city would shy away with. And
Okay.
correct me if I'm overstating or misspoking, but
I would put in there also, you know, right now, we are hurting, it's not good. But, that being said, some of the decisions from our mayor and from the council members here looking forward, I feel really optimistic we'll be able to get ourselves out of this hole. If all this stuff falls in the way they've got projected and planned, and it happens, we won't be in the same hole here 2-3 years down the road. I'm really impressed, and I can't say a lot from that, because a lot of this stuff hasn't been declared yet, or hasn't been decided, but there is, if everybody would cinch their belts down here for another year or two, give us some time, get our feet underneath us, this city has got all kinds of possibilities, and we've just got to reconsolidate and redo and shrink up and tighten our belts.
Okay. Yeah, just
So-
to go back to what I heard from you, Chris, was, if it's not sure, don't touch it.
Well,
not with your
Not-
department's money. I
not,
think
not
is
with
what
the
that's-
department's
Right,
money,
gotcha,
right?
gotcha.
Because, you know, I think what a lot of the general public is missing is they see their pocketbook over the last, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years, something like that, where the money just doesn't go even half as far as it
No,
used to,
absolutely.
right? And, I mean, we haven't raised water rates since 2017. But you sit through our meetings and you see the price of all this equipment that is failing, and we still haven't raised and that might still have to happen in this budget season. You know, the city just, the
Our tax-
expenses,
yeah.
the expenses have skyrocketed. We've seen electric bills for the city double since I've been on, since the mayor's been on. But yet, we're not talking about, you know, sending out pink slips and raising property taxes, because you're not gonna get that from me. Property tax to the city means diddly squat. 60% of it, we sign right over to the fire department. So, the sales tax was our most viable option, and it didn't go through. So therefore, elections have consequences, right? So we have to tighten our belt, and people are gonna be pissed. We've got people in the museum pissed at us right now, but I'm sorry, this is the situation that we find ourselves in. So we have to cut, and yeah, I mean, I remember going to the fish hatchery numerous times when I was a kid, when it was open. That was like my favorite place to go. It's really sad to see the building in the condition that it's in, but it doesn't do the city any good. So therefore we can't, that's why it doesn't have insurance on it. It wasn't a huge savings, because it's just a stick structure that, you know, that's deteriorated so far. But every penny that we could cut, we have to cut.
But I do think it's encouraging that we've had the individuals that have reached out about working with us and finding things to do in the park, like the pond thing that just came into our lap a little while ago. I can see us embracing that and doing more with that, and them being encouraged by how receptive we are, and them wanting to do even more. And let's stroke that cat like we can, so that we can do more with it. And I think those are exactly, I mean, it's a perfect area for all of that to happen. And I appreciate what you said, when you said that we're really trying to be responsible for what we want to do in the future. You know, the better we prep now, I hope to have it where we have, you know, less responsibilities, less utilities, less buildings, less insurance. And then we have, not necessarily a ton more money, but more responsible money. And if we have just the buildings that are fewer, we have more money to maintain those at a level that they deserve, and that's gonna represent our community better too.
So I would tell you, Kevin, that if you have volunteers that wanna come in, I think we have a release form that they'd have to sign.
Okay.
Other than that, you know, if you would just let us know what you're kind of planning on.
We do ask that they try and keep track of their hours a
We-
little bit, because
yes, we can
that's another thing for grants. The
funds,
more
we
we
can
know
use that.
about what is being actually worked, and it doesn't have to be timesheets or anything like that, but if you can, you know, this person helped this many hours this month, or if the park board can help make that happen, that's really gonna help us in the long run when we apply for grants, to say that we've got this much of an active community that cares this much, they're volunteering this many hours.
100%.
Especially with the pool project, I know we're not quite there yet, you guys have had a ton of volunteer hours there. The more you can, make sure that that is tracked and documented, so that way we can use that in the future to help pay for anything with this entire department, that would be awesome.
So, a couple of years ago, it was brought to my attention, speaking of the fish hatchery building, is, a former employee of the city had some people that wanted to come in and put some sort of recreational business in that building. They fell in love with that building. And one of your predecessors told them to pack sand. I think that's a great idea, and, you know, any rent that would come out of that, I have no problem just putting that right back into that building, putting insurance back on it, but in its current condition, that doesn't make sense to me. But if we could actually get somebody in there that's doing something, then
That
that's a
generates more
whole
revenue for
different,
that department,
that's a
yeah.
whole different ballgame there.
We'd have to carry insurance.
Yeah,
We
we
would.
would.
We would.
But you wouldn't be offended if it got painted and some glass replaced?
No, as long as you come in and you sign the waiver and then you let us know what you're doing, no.
Yeah,
It's not a problem. We encourage all of our citizens to volunteer if they've got time. That's awesome. Just please report and tell us.
I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, we
We
greatly
do
appreciate
have
it.
quite a few volunteers that do
Yes,
quite a bit,
They are more than
and
welcome.
we appreciate that.
Okay.
I will cross one more bridge while we're crossing bridges. You mentioned, wages and expenses. Unfortunately, the city has not been able to give a cost of living raise for 2-3 years now. We're long overdue. And that is something that with what we have, with the change in highway allocation and some of our state and federal funding, we want to make sure that that is first in line to be considered across the board. I think Kevin's an outstanding employee. I think he's got a great team underneath him. I think they do great work. But to say that, you know, he deserves it more than any other employee in the city, I can't get on board with that. I do appreciate that you feel so strongly about your employees, though. That's wonderful. But I want that to be considered. So that would be something that, you know, I don't want you to worry as much about in your budget, because that's something that we've tried to look for creatively citywide to make sure that that is definitely considered for the next year across the board. So that way no one is left behind and that they all come up the way they need to be. Because that's not something we've not had the numbers to be able to make those forecasted decisions the way we have in the last year and a half or whatever. So where that's getting as improved as it has, and we're getting more clarity with that, we can make better judgments with that. And I, again, correct me if I'm misspeaking or speaking out of turn, but I do think that needs to be the priority of this mayor and this council, that is one thing that we want to make sure happens 100% in this next budget.
Well, and that brings up another thing that we've discussed before. So not only the wages, but we do have a bid contract for fuel with Wesco. They give us a discount, and we cannot buy fuel anywhere but Wesco.
We did call and verify the other fuel source. They'd spoke to us in previous mayors about why they weren't getting additional business, and so it was more of a verbal thing that you guys started doing fuel beyond there. We have reached out to them, if not today, we will be reaching out to them, making sure that they do participate in our bid process, because that is open right now. And that way they understand that, yeah, that might have been okay for the short term, but we do invite you strongly to participate in our bid process, so that way we can do it the way we're supposed to do it as a municipality. We don't want to, the old handshake and verbal for too many years has not got us to be in a good situation where we're at right now. And we've worked very, very hard. I know since I started, close to 4 years ago, there's not a contract we haven't come across that we haven't tried to make sure that not only both parties are well represented, but that they're fair and they're safe for both parties too, so. It's one of those rules that can be tedious, but it's definitely the best thing for both parties, so we've asked them to please participate.
And they do have non-ethanol at Wesco.
Does that mandate that we're getting fuel from Wesco now? or-
That, they have the current bid, so, we're,
It should have been from last year.
yeah, for this fiscal year. So
First I've heard that, so.
it has to come from Wesco. I understand, and I've signed a lot of warrants. Everybody else here has signed a lot of warrants, and it's been an oversight on our part, and this
Sure.
should have been addressed.
Quite a while ago, but it's honestly just pure oversight. You know, after we accept a bid, we assume that's what's being done.
Yeah.
As odd as that is.
So,
So,
But in fairness to what happened, so be it, the past is the past, nobody's in trouble, we're not worried about that part. But moving forward, we're in the process of bids right now, so it shouldn't be a drastic change as far as, well, they missed the last 3 months of this budget or whatever. You know, that shouldn't be the case, cause we're dealing with bids, and probably, the next meeting or the meeting after that, we'll open those bids.
Yeah, that's fine.
So it's coming up soon, and then it'll be official, so
On
we're not gonna
October
miss out
1.
on anything that was, gosh, I feel bad, cause we had a verbal and we can't do that, but it's in the process of being fixed correctly and it should be okay.
correct, the new bid would go into effect October 1.
I believe
Yeah.
so, yes.
Okay, so until then, all fuel must be purchased at Wesco.
Okay.
Thank you.
anything else big like that, let me know. I'm sorry. I gotta check
Oh,
mine,
that's all
so.
Again, it's oversight on our part. This is
We
not your fault.
didn't
It's
pick
not
up
your
what was
fault.
being put down, so you're good, it's,
I apologize, but I got
Sure.
another meeting, so.
sure.
Alright.
Thanks,
you,
Devin.
guys.
Okay.
Okay.
I was gonna say, I feel like we've beat Park to.
I don't
the
even
end
know
of-
where we were. So,
We were at page 3.
Right.
We had just gone through park allowances and we were discussing park grants. And the 33,000 about what you guys had asked for last year, and I think you were considering something very similar.
yes, let's keep that like it is. We didn't put anything in their CDs, in the equipment, and that's where we kind of run into binds. We'd like to put that one up to 6,500 because it's gonna take new, mowing equipment every third year or so. I mean, that's ideally what you end up doing is rotating through those machines so that we can keep up.
So
So you
if I
wanna
can
get-
add to that,
Sure.
Sure.
I know that the cemetery has that CD. And if it's an absolute must to buy a mower, then maybe it should be bought through the cemetery
That would be
CD.
great.
That would
That's a great idea,
take pressure on the park.
As a
because they're
sideline,
used out there.
Kevin did order some parts and fix up one of the old 60s.
Okay.
I think it was a muffler, a starter, some bearings.
Well, and we've had lots of additional to take care of as far as what's not been mowed or what the
Yeah.
rodeo grounds have needed help for. So it is good to have kind of a beat up machine that we can throw in the weeds.
Yeah, especially for the rodeo grounds.
Right.
It sounds like
It's
that's
rough.
the one that does the damage.
Is it,
That's excellent to hear.
is it, my understanding that he doesn't want any more 60s? I thought he said that he wanted another 72.
I think that's what I've heard him say,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay,
Well, and moving forward in the future, the more that you have that are the same, then you can
Right.
do what we've done in the past where you,
So
Well,
he
the
does
bigger
make
have,
machine
assistance.
gets so much more done,
sure.
yes,
and when you're short of help,
Do we know how much we
It makes
spent
a
on
big
that last
difference.
72 so that we know what we could potentially budget through cemetery?
that's it.
it was
Well, it wasn't this year.
Was it
No.
It was
a couple of years ago.
15?
Alright, I wanted to say 17
Cause
or 18.
the 102 was
That was
almost
the big one,
30.
Okay, we'll pencil that in
Yeah.
for cemetery. If we've got multiple
If-
lines to help me remember, cause I won't. Have notes.
Like I said, I mean, we did talk about spending, some of that money out of the CD when we did the cemetery, but if we have to get another mower, and, because I understand they fall apart.
Sure. Well, and they were long overdue before we did the last two, way long overdue.
And quite honestly, Kevin's he's got pieces and parts of 2 or 3 that I think he's put on the,
Yeah.
get rid of list or the surplus list, that he would like to see if we can get anything out of them.
Sure.
So that is a potential,
Well, if we can make this happen in the next budget year, then I think those would be easy to consider for surplus after that.
And I did,
Probably not before that, but after that.
I did talk to him about checking with, some of these tire shops around and the front donuts, about getting them foam filled, cause the goat heads just eat those up.
Yeah.
If we could get those foam filled, I mean, that is, it's an expense, but it's a cost savings
Yes.
at the same time.
It prevents a lot of downtime.
Right.
Agreed.
okay. I don't have anything, penciled in for the next 5, so shared trailer, replacement mower, UTV, I put that replacement mower back up under equipment, I pick one and go with it, so nothing under water wheel, nothing under spray equipment either. Left training and education at 1,100. Utilities, I put that one forward to 6,000, and I don't, cause I don't know what that, I don't know, I just was
Sure.
thinking about bills.
Sure.
And then I see that we did not budget for utilities for the rodeo, and that one, it actually does cost us, I don't know how we got by that last year, but I put $1,600 on that one.
It gets, yeah, when they pay us, we put it against that line item, so it usually.
So it zeroes out, is that, so then I don't need to,
It should be.
is that how that works? Okay.
So that one's 0.
But it's money in, money out.
Exactly.
Right, so
Yeah.
it needs to be accounted for at some level. I don't think it's that bad of a thing there.
Yeah, and so then do you need an income for that as well? I mean, I usually they have, if you have an
Right.
expenditure, it comes in
Sure.
somewhere. And I didn't have anything under other either.
Now, I can go back and address those wages and the benefits. That little bit of benefit, the 3085, it's, the only thing that's going out to Kevin right now for benefits that way is the Guardian life insurance.
Oh, okay.
And so that's $10.20 a month, and hasn't been going on too long. However, what you have to remember, and we didn't do it last year, is that if they took the Blue Cross Blue Shield life insurance, it would go in the benefits, but he
But
opts
he
to
does
take,
not,
he
and
opts
so,
to take the $350
and where does that come, that's what I
wages,
wondered,
it
okay.
goes into wages.
Okay, so that's what I didn't know for sure, but,
So that's why a lot of these departments, the payroll taxes is overshooting what we budgeted because we didn't take into account,
So we
you know.
could adjust employee benefits to 150 and that would be covered.
Yeah, that would probably be.
Yeah,
That's a
so
good
you
guesstimate.
would need the difference. I think it's $4,200 a year is what they're getting on that insurance stipend. So $4,200 needs to kind of get added into wages,
Wages, right.
above,
okay.
Above and beyond the
the
69.40.
normal wages.
Or would it
I
be
imagine, I don't think they're,
52.
yeah.
So it's 57, 9.
Savings to the city.
What did you have for wages, Jen?
69,040.
69,040 plus 4,200,
Plus 4,200.
and then we should reduce
7,300
benefits.
and 73,240. And we spent, that's 20,000 over what we spent this last year.
Well, it's an extra person, that's exactly why that's coming through that way.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Well, we didn't have an extra person from last year. Last year had an extra person.
Yeah,
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that's budgeting for 2 seasonals. So,
You had 2 seasonals this year.
no,
Well,
he had for a little while, but he's been
Very
working for the
part-time.
streets. We looked at that budget pretty hard and tried to make sure we were very responsible in
Sure,
not.
sure. We just hired him that way, that's why I was.
Yes, yeah,
It's a good thing it didn't rain much.
yes, it is.
Helped save us a little bit.
We
Well,
won't stay-
it's not a good thing, but
I know.
It's a glass half full view is what we're trying to go with right now. It did rain last time we were in this building, so we're doing our part.
People are on their way to stab us.
I know, right?
On the backside, the $100,000 that was listed for last year's budget, that is based on rodeo, right? And that we don't have any more plans for that?
The capital outlay?
Yeah.
it's probably not gonna happen because there's no grants for redoing that hillside, and there sure ain't no money from this side of the table.
Sure.
Yeah, that's probably fair to be zero.
Again, we would like to put money forward for capital improvements in the future. And one of the, you know, if we can't budget for that in the future, I had $15,000 put in that line item, but if we can't budget for that in the future, is there a way, if we have any at the end of the year, that we can put that into a CD or a savings account?
If they have extra
For
that's
the
not
extra
used,
money left at the end of the year, sure, we can put some in savings.
is that something they just put on an agenda item, and we would request that these items be put into a CD and it is approved at that time?
Normally, that last meeting of the fiscal year,
Okay.
I would, project real close, you know, where we're gonna be at, and how many funds are still in the deficit after we, you know, move some over, and will we have any left, then we can decide, and so we picked away at deficit, funds that got way in the deficit, for years, and we got that all caught up. But if you, once you get your deficit funds caught up, then if you sit there and you have some extra money, yeah, you could decide to, you could approve to have that put into savings
So,
or a
I mean,
CD.
in all realistic manners, it's not something we would necessarily need to add as an addition in the budget, because
Right.
that's just fake, I mean, that's not real money.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
It,
Move it to
it
savings.
would be whatever you didn't use that was already in the budget that was left
That we
over,
could
then
roll over.
converted at the end. So I wouldn't think that you would need to use that line item then, if that's what we're taking
But
into
you have to
consideration.
Consider yourself one spoke in a big wheel. you know,
Sure,
and
sure,
as park, maybe they don't overspend or underspend, and they wanna save some of their money back, but we've got other departments that went over.
And that, and I
Sure,
totally
sure.
understand, that's,
Okay.
I understand that,
Yeah,
part, that,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But, you know, we can look at what we've done, and then you guys will know
Sure,
where the rest of it is,
Yeah.
so,
oh, that's appreciated.
okay.
My apologies for not being familiar with that version.
Yes.
We've done some of the cashing out and
Oh,
paying
yeah,
for
yeah.
things, but not that version, so I'm not as
I
familiar
think
with
at
that.
the end of 22, we had, balanced everybody out, and we had some money there left. you
That'd be
know.
wonderful.
So, except for golf, cause we couldn't transfer from general to golf.
Right.
But, yeah, it was a really nice,
It would be. It would be, what a good goal.
cause it took years.
Yeah, and it does. Are you feeling pretty online for what we've kind of discussed as a whole today? I know you said, you know, when you came in, you weren't expecting the 10% fair.
Well-
But I think within this one, like you just said, that would be fairly easy to adjust for
Mhm.
what we've talked about and what you had laid out. Do you have any other questions for us or concerns for us before we move on from
No.
park to pool?
I think we've done what we talked about, let's leave that.
Well, I'm gonna have to leave.
Oh, okay.
When's, are we gonna special meeting?
So, we will have another meeting, I think, for us to redo or
We do this?
certainly rethink, because I've already said I would do a couple of things, but yeah, we'll probably look at that in another week or so.
I want Stevie's pen.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go close up the park.
Thanks, Lee.
Thank you.
We'll see you later.
Okay.
You say, yeah, we can afford to get pens.
See, he's already doing his
He
part.
knows his part.
That's awesome.
All right, let's move on to pool, because I think we have, probably a lot of discussion here that
Sure.
needs- so that you guys understand what, where the pool's at. Should I do it just a general where we're at this point?
That's not a bad idea.
So we've gotten to the point where we've made our repairs. And then we're testing right now, so
So
we're
the bowl
testing-
itself, the cement.
Yeah, you know, the bowl is fine, it's the gutter system that.
Right, but everything that's tied to the actual,
Yes.
that, not the, nothing in the buildings and whatnot, so
No.
just the bowl itself.
And so we figured that out, we figured that we had several days and did not lose hardly any, I mean, a little evaporation,
Sure.
but was able to fill it up in
Pretty
just
hot.
an hour or so.
Wonderful.
So I think that is really good news. Now we don't wanna fix it, we don't wanna pour the cement yet, cause there is one fix, there is one thing that is leaking, and that is the hydrant on the north side. When Kevin comes over to use that hydrant, and he turns that on, man, does that water go. So I think he and Lee are gonna work on digging that out before we pour any cement, and, to fix that. We talked about it a little bit today, and it's a very useful hydrant for him and as well as us.
Good, okay.
And so I think that will be really helpful to get that out of the way. After that, at Friday, we're looking at, having Schnell come over to assess our heater. Just to make sure, I don't know where it's at, we've been 2 years and haven't used it, so. The pump is brand new, it never had any use on it, so, and it's been working, I mean, we've had it, working and going, so we've pushed that part of the system, now we need to check the heater and make sure that that's going. And pouring cement would be the finish to that. We do have one issue that won't get fixed until later, but the baby pool has either a clogged, it has either a broken drain or something, because we can't get it to drain out of there, and so we're gonna have to not use that right now. We're gonna have to turn off the valve on that one so that we don't lose a whole bunch of water. That, we know is an issue, but that's what we were doing the testing for.
Right.
That I think we can probably get fixed this fall.
Okay.
So then the next, I mean, I'm trying to work through in steps here.
Right, there's a lot of.
And, obviously, once we get everything put back together, the pool needs to be inspected. And, that is something that's on our list, but I'm not quite ready to call anybody because we don't have any cement yet. However, I'm thinking forward, and actually Kelsey at Fort Robinson called me and she said, you know, we're really worried about having enough people to work, at their end of season. And there is another class for, lifeguards and CPR, which would certify people to work for them. And she said, do you have any people? And I said, so I asked the group and we said, we would offer some scholarships for that training, which is next week, if we get somebody who would potentially work for us. And so I've gotten 3 people, I think, to go to that class at this point, which helps fill it, because she didn't have enough people to fill it.
Right.
So I think it will happen, and I think we can help sponsor some people. I had to turn 2 14-year-olds away because they're not old enough, and they're just gung-ho, you know, and it's like, I said, next year.
Next year.
Yeah, so anyway, I can't say that we're gonna get it open. We're still working on that.
Sure.
But,
It sounds
that's
like
where
you're
we're-
making good progress.
absolutely.
I did come across your post. I'm glad you got a chance to speak with Kelsey because she called me first and I said, well, I couldn't come up with names, but you might have references as to who's been hired and what we have for an alum that maybe worked at one point that maybe is back visiting or something that could help out in that month. So, I do have one request. You did post on Facebook about that reaching out for people if they
Yes.
were interested in it. We need to be mindful that it doesn't sound like we're alluding to needing guards this year, because it could be read that way. So we might need to just be,
Okay.
add more details so that it's clear.
Everybody I have talked with, I said, we are not promising any jobs.
Sure,
And actually.
We just need to be overly clear, just so the city doesn't have that liability where it doesn't
Okay,
come back and say, well, it looked like we were hiring this year, where did that go?
right,
A- And I love that we have the opportunity to help the fort and that we can get some training done this year. That's wonderful. But I just, if we can just maybe add additional verbiage to that so that way there's not that confusion, that would be really helpful.
but it did turn up several people that I had not thought of or heard about.
That's
So
great
that
news.
is awesome.
Good.
All right, so other questions, I guess, about that Do you have any?
Have we just, you talked about the few things that you have left, exciting that we can actually say few things.
Mhm.
Anything in the pool house itself that we need to worry about this year, this calendar year, before next year, or before the winter?
We will have some things this winter, but, we've got just a couple of minor leaks in the, men's side. It's just,
It's just been sitting for
It's
too
gonna be
long
right.
too. Okay,
we tested the heater, the water heater, so it's up and running.
wonderful.
It didn't get frozen over the winter or anything,
Right,
so that's really awesome.
Good,
So
that's great news.
it is fresh painted, and so just, we're taking some spray hoses and cleaning things out.
Awesome.
It looks
So
pretty
just
nice.
maintaining it to be
Yes.
wonderful. That's
Yeah.
wonderful to hear. I had another thought in my head and it left.
Welcome to my world.
Did you ever find out what the insurance was talking about?
It was, well, you
Is it
said
the
you were looking
boiler?
at the
It was.
heater. There's something in that heater boiler house that also puts off dangerous.
Oh,
Toxic.
carbon
Toxic.
monoxide.
Yes.
Yes.
That also needs to be maintained, and I have a feeling that was tied to the machine that was installed that was maybe never intended to be used with water, and it was with a good intention, but it,
Never to be
is-
used with chlorinated.
yeah, there you go. And so it needs, whatever issue is tied to all of that information, I don't know enough about it.
Yes.
But we wanna make sure that, and of course, I'm sure we need to make sure that that's tackled in order to complete,
Yes.
you know, the inspection.
And
We
there
wouldn't pass
is a
inspection with
carbon
that.
monoxide monitor right next to the heater. Buffy pointed that out, and she said, yeah, she made us aware of that.
Yeah, cause that's been a major problem in the past, and that's something, we want this place, I mean, if we're gonna go through this process of fixing everything, we want to make sure that that is,
Sure.
that's where it needs to be. And then I know Nebraska law has changed, that we don't necessarily see that approval come from the state. We have,
Right.
I could believe there's 3 different agencies that you listed at maybe one of the last meetings we went to, or that you came to. Do you have in mind who you wanna go to yet, or?
I think I'd call Megan
Okay.
at.
That's awesome that we have
Yeah.
a goal and,
Yes.
or, yeah, a timeline in mind.
Exactly.
Perfect. All right, I think that's all I had, that I had in mind as far as questions on where we stand. I think, if you guys don't have any additional questions, we can start going
So
through.
is that boiler thing a matter of state inspection or insurance? Is insurance?
Insurance won't stand unless it's been state inspected and approved. So,
Okay.
well, or it's not state inspection anymore, but if it's been inspected and approved, then as long as that specifically has been approved, insurance is pending on that approval.
And we have to send them
The proof that
Proof.
that was,
that it's.
Oh, okay.
yes, so that would be that
That
time,
it's certified.
Sure.
because that was a major concern.
Well, we do have Chanel coming on Friday to help us make, start it up, see that it's running or not, I don't know. So, all steps. All right, on the pool budget, 0 in other revenues. They kept the $10,000 in fees and charges, and as I recall from last year, that it was pretty close to what was, generated in the summer from people using the pool, based on all this previous year stuff. So, and that may go up a little bit if we raise our prices, we just haven't got there, so, there's only a few of us. I left the merchandise sales and the interest income, at blank. I'm not too worried about merchandise sales yet, I think maybe in a couple of years we might be able to worry about that. The grant proceeds at $89,780, I'm not, again, it's one of those things, was that from us, or,
Yes.
okay. Well, and I think the pool committee, as we talked, is certainly willing to keep working on repairs and maintenance, for this next year. So I think we need to keep funding in there, I don't know how much, I put a $90,000 figure in there just because, who knows?
This was the
So-
money that was projected, right? It was a matching fund, is that right? That everyone says that we had, we didn't, because it wasn't ever matched?
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I want to clarify, and my apologies for not doing my homework and coming with this as a specific reference. But when we had the city hall, or not the city hall, the town hall meeting, and it was first put out that we needed to have that the city was gonna challenge the community to come together as a committee and work together to make this possible. The city also requested that in addition to everything needing to be fixed, they needed to help with funding however many years for us to run it also. Do you feel like you guys are to the point, or you have projected funds to be able to cover a year of the pool's budget?
No, not with staff. That was the thing that we talked about, and we have to figure out something else. So we were going to ask in this budget if you guys can staff it. And that we would do the maintenance and repairs, and
Our MOU says you staff it.
there is no MOU.
So
Well, I thought we had
we're
some.
working
No.
towards one, we're hoping to work
Sorry.
towards one,
I thought
but
had
we
that.
haven't come to an agreement on what is, how it's done yet. And I do think it's a good idea, and I do appreciate you working on that with us. I just don't know that we're to the point where both parties agree yet.
Yeah.
I guess
That
my,
was one of the stipulations that we made, because as it stands right now, and as tight as things are right now, that even if the pool was fixed this last year, the current year that we're on, we wouldn't have had the funding to make any of that happen. I mean,
Right.
we're struggling as it is to make our month to month happen. And so it's been sad, but convenient to not have those extra funds being demanded of the city this year. Especially where the pool doesn't make enough on its own
Right.
to generate its full budget.
And
So
to
that
put
is
it
a
in-
concern for the next 2 years, is how we work our way back into being able to afford it.
Okay.
If we do get it to a point where it can function. I do think that in that same sense, we need to be mindful of, we now have pretty outstanding competition. And that's gonna impact what we have for revenue.
Yeah,
so to put it in different perspective, so when the pool shut down, what, 2 years ago now?
Yes.
There was, well, again, inflation, right? We talked about that earlier. We didn't see an influx in monies that could be dispersed throughout the city. In fact, it got worse. And
Minimum wage went up.
minimum
Yeah, that
wage
was the big
has,
hit.
has really killed us.
Yeah.
So, I guess that was gonna be my question, I mean, you just alluded to it, so now, instead of just competing with another swimming pool at the fort, now they have a water park with slides and all that. So how can we reimagine the use for this pool? Is it just open in the morning for swimming lessons? Or is it, I mean, that's just an idea, right?
We're
But,
open in the evenings, and we have pool parties, and, you know, yeah, we've talked about some of this stuff.
That's
Okay.
wonderful to hear, cause
Yeah.
we will, if we want,
we have
we
to
want it to
reimagine.
stay
Yes.
open, it's gonna have to help the city be less of a liability. And that's been the great thing about all this, is we've seen just how much the community loves that pool. And I know we really enjoyed it when it was open, me and the boys, there's great things about that pool. But we will have to compete with,
Free ice cream.
well, they only do that on occasion, but, but we'll have to compete with the differences in what they have to offer and what we have to offer. I mean, if it means that we can have swimming lessons and that they don't, that's a great thing. That's something that I'm adamant needs to be in this area, no matter what pool it is, it needs to have swimming lessons.
Yes.
I mean, Nebraska is top state of having open water.
Facilities, yes.
Yeah, well, just having open water as
Oh, my
as
gosh.
available to its individuals. I mean, for not having the ocean close to us, we've got a lot of beachfront. So that's important for our children to understand and have the safety of lessons available to them. I know this year we traveled over a year to get our lessons. Not fun with the way that fuel rates are.
So one of the ideas that I was thinking is that do some collaboration with some of the lifeguards, whether they're Ford employees or
Yes.
not, and say, hey, you can use the pool to do swimming lessons, and then they can charge, they can make a little extra money,
Like private lessons?
like private
Sure.
lessons. Just I don't know, this is just one of the ideas that I came up with how do we have to reimagine this pool, because it's not, I mean, if you go around and talk to the kids,
Mhm.
and I've talked to a number of them, they don't wanna come to this pool, they wanna go to the water park when it's open.
That's not what I hear.
Can I
at
say
all.
something?
I disagree.
Am I allowed?
Well, I'm
I
telling you
disagree.
that these
I'm
are the
telling
kids
you.
that I have talked to, and they don't wanna come back here because they like the water park.
I have not heard that.
Sure,
claim.
Monty.
I made it a point to talk to a lot of kids.
Mhm.
And the pool out there is magnificent. And the younger kids absolutely adore it.
Mhm.
But I work with a lot of older kids. And that is not what they say. They like to go out there for a couple of hours and they like to play. But they miss the old pool.
There's not enough room
They-
to swim.
There's not enough room to swim.
Right.
It's too crowded.
Yeah.
They like the peace of the pool in Crawford. I don't have my list here in front of me, but I think I talked to 40 kids.
Mhm.
I made it a point because
Sure.
it's important. I wanted to know. You know, they want to learn to swim. So many of the parents, and this is one of the things that's so vital in this community, is that these kids learn to swim. But they're also talking about, like I said, getting into the diving into the pool, visiting with their friends, having pool parties, having the time to just giggle and not be surrounded by lots of little kids. And I said, well, there's always been lots of little kids. I always threw that out.
Mhm.
But not in the big pool. And so I think, I don't know who you talked to, and I'm sure you talked to a lot of them. But I just really have wanted to feel, I wanted to know
Mhm.
if this was vitally important to our community. And it is. Yeah, it's magnificent out there. And the fact that they came up with the money for the kids to come out there for free, that was equally magnificent.
Mhm.
But our big kids, and I'm talking 10, 11, 12, they wanna ride their bikes, and they wanna get in, and they want to play with their friends, and they want to giggle and goof around. Every time, and I'm 75, and I've been in this community 55 years, I have seen way too many things for our older kids removed from this community
Mhm.
for lots of reasons, and they've never come back.
Yeah, I think, I really disagree with you, Chris, just because right, just what Monty said, a lot of the older kids, when they go out there, and that's who I'm talking to, it's great for young families and young little ones that wanna just wade out, it's perfect for that. And the slides are pretty amazing, they're kinda fun, but then you gotta watch around all the people going out. Our pool is gonna allow room, and there's gonna be two different groups, I bet you're gonna see. You're gonna see the kids that are old enough to go out on their bike and spend the day and not have to have mom and dad there. And those are the people that are gonna frequent here. And the teenagers and the families that are, yeah. So I'm gonna disagree with you on that. This is one reason, and nothing wrong with this grant, I understand, but it is gonna be a contest for us. And it's gonna be a liability for the pool here for this year. But that being said, I do feel like after talking to some of the older kids, I think there is a purpose, there is a spot for it, and I think it will be utilized, and I think you'd be surprised. How we go about making it so it appeals to everybody? Are we putting the springboard back in this, when you do this?
Not at this time.
Not at this time.
We're just working on repairing what we've got there, but
So there again, you know, that was part of the fun, even if it's just the low ones. The kids loved it, the older kids love to jump off the springboard. You know, so I mean, it's that kind of stuff that's gonna appeal to them, to bring them down to it. You know, not only just not having the slide, but something different.
So I don't,
I wanna thank you, Moni, cause that's not a perspective I'd heard yet, and so I do appreciate you doing that research above and beyond to help us really understand as many aspects of this as possible. And that is the challenging part of this job, is it's very hard to ever hear everybody's side of everything, and you have to make some decisions that are very hard, and you know you don't have the full picture to it, but you do your best. So thank you for caring enough to go and do that research and bring that back to us. That's greatly appreciated.
You're welcome. Thank you. No, Buffy has also said, she'll do everything to make this pool work. She works at the one at the fort, but she'll do everything. We grew up in that pool. I didn't learn to swim until I was 18. My kids grew up in that pool.
Sure.
And
The only thing that I would caution,
think about.
sure, and the only thing that I would caution you and a lot, and many residents that have spent a lifetime here is, it's wonderful that you care as much as you do, and it means as much as you do, and it holds the nostalgia that it does for you, and it has all that. We just have to make sure that our hearts don't cloud making smart decisions, and that we don't put ourselves in a real difficult decision because we can't think past how big our heart feels. And that is really important to keep that in mind, that it does mean that much to us, because we do want to make sure that we represent the community, that we're doing the things community forward, and that we're being mindful of that. We just have to make sure that we don't cloud it with too many moments of nostalgia where we're not thinking clearly, we're not making responsible decisions either. So I know there's been times where this, at least from my perspective and from my seat, where I've been viewed in a way to be cold and not considering for that reason. But I do think that you have to consider both. And it is important that when you're being logical, that you're not too clouded with your heart, but then also too, if you're running with your heart, it's not logical to use logics when you're using your heart either. So
Economic viability.
yes, so I do think that it's gonna be, we need to use a good handful of both for this recipe in order for it to be a success. So, but I do, it sounds like you guys have been extremely mindful about the process that you've done, the research that you've done. We really appreciate that. My only note is I'd love to know more often, whether it doesn't necessarily have to be in a meeting, even if it's through an email that I can share with council or whatever it may be. Keep us in the loop with things. That would be one request, and that would be awesome. But I was really hopeful when I put that challenge out to the public that they come together and form this committee, and I'm so thankful and so appreciative that so many have come forward and that you guys have made as much progress in the short amount of time that you have. Because I didn't want to have to make that hard decision or lead anyone else to make that hard decision if it hadn't been that. You need to stop, please. Thank you.
well,
And since we're kind of visiting on this, so one of the things that you're absolutely right, and Jenny and I have talked about it, and Buffy and I have talked about it. This pool has to be logical to a certain extent. We have to tip it a little bit towards our kids and to do the best for our kids. But, as someone who owned a business in this town for 32 years and still pays taxes in this town, yeah, it's tough. You do have to stop and think about that. But I think we can work it out. Tonight is the first night, people. The first night that I felt very positive that we could work something out here among the council, among the pool board, and among this community. It's bothered me a great deal that we haven't put enough out there, that there hasn't been enough news one way or the other, that there hasn't been enough stories. And I just ran out of time, or I would do more. But we have to start putting this out, that you guys are not saying, close that pool.
no, and that's not what I was saying either.
And no word from the city is not no.
And that we've
also.
got to,
Right.
but a lot of people believe
But just
that.
as understandable, and they're gonna run with their hearts on a lot of things. Just as I asked you to add more detail to your post, so that way there isn't confusion, we have to be extremely mindful on how we approach and how we announce things, because they're severely misread. So we have to, you know, I agree, whatever we can share, if we can put it out there more, maybe that would be more helpful, but as of right now, the committee's their own voice. And I do think that's a benefit all to their own too, because there's been too many times where the city's been made out to be the bad guy, even though that's not been our intention. And with you guys being a neutral source, it's been able to keep its own positive momentum.
And build that.
Right.
That's been so
Right.
awesome.
And so it's not the intention of the city to say no or say that we're representing no, it's to give you the space without competing with your voice to let you make it clear to the community. And so if we need to maybe make that clarification, maybe that's a way we can do that. Do you think that would be a helpful way to, maybe that's something?
I think we just need to start really working together on this and maybe getting some little blurbs out on Facebook and maybe checking back and forth with each other. Is this what you meant? Is this what, there's nothing wrong with that, checking with somebody and saying, this is what I want, we're going to put out today. Is that what you're thinking?
Sure.
Just like you just asked Jenny to make sure that was
Sure.
clarified. It is not against the law to
Right.
ask questions.
So, I think we could have a discussion about the city, you know, putting water in it, which we've already done. We could have a discussion about the utilities. But where I don't see without making big cuts to the other non-essential departments is the wages.
What do you project in, Jenny? You haven't
So we haven't got there, but I will tell you.
Thank you.
Let's go down to that wages, and I put that at $33,060.
So how many employees are you looking at?
Let me write my notes.
So we have to have one certified pool operator, and then 5 lifeguards.
5 lifeguards?
Yep.
And how many hours?
So the lifeguards would be 25 hours a week. The CPO manager would be 40 hours.
Over
12 weeks.
12 weeks? Okay, so is there, 33,000, is there, like Skip says, or Chris says, we're not gonna have it in the budget. And I don't know how far I need to get into this, but a lot of this was donated. And your budget was around 50 grand, is last I'd heard.
Yep.
And are you guys still holding that? Are you getting donations more?
We are
you
still
pursuing?
getting, yes, and we are still pursuing.
How much of this extra are you gonna have that you can, I mean, the supply, the equipment and that kind of stuff, I could see maybe we could budget, possibly, I'm not saying, but the wages, is there any way within your budget that you can get that in donations? I mean, is that a possibility? I mean, you already got, I don't know what you spent, so.
Yeah, that's the problem, is most of our bills haven't come due yet, and so that's part of the problem. What I heard when I talked to the board was that, yeah, we could probably figure it out if we have to.
So,
Okay.
like, I'm sorry, are you done?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so like I said earlier, by reimagining, so, I mean, we could have these lifeguards use the pool at no expense to them for private swim lessons, which would create some income for them. I don't see a problem with that, do you?
The only thing that comes to mind is just insurance and liability. So as long as the guy down the street's okay with it, I think we could be okay with it.
Mhm.
But that would be the only concern.
And the pool parties, I mean, are you thinking of charging enough to cover wages with the pool part? I
Or
mean,
maybe even be slightly profitable.
And maybe there's 2 different kinds. There's
mhm.
once in a while for everybody to come who has their regular pass, and there's the birthday party that somebody wants to host.
Well, and I've seen communities do like movie
Movie
pool
nights.
night,
Yes,
yeah, and then
yes.
it's,
We
it's
used
a
to do
once
it
every
here.
2 weeks or whatever, and
Buffy
then
used
that
to do it.
generates a lot more, so like maybe it's very similar to what we've challenged the golf course to do, is to get creative with events, and that's not as easy as we want it to be.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that it needs to be as hard as it needs to be either.
I haven't been to the Fort one. Do they have lights to where they could run into the
They
dark?
haven't done any, so I will,
Close at 7
Yep.
o'clock. and-
so I,
So we have that.
yeah.
Exactly.
And I did ask, like, at the end of the baseball season, we've always tried to do a pool party, and we did ours at the Crawford pool a couple of years back when the pool was still open. It was awesome, cause I could do a private party. I asked that of the fort this year, and they're not in the position where they're familiar with what they need enough where it was allowed to do, so I had to do it with the open public, so that is something that we could really capitalize on, is to do a quote-unquote private party, or
Water polo, there's all kinds of ideas. But what the city's trying to say is, we need people, you know, just like what we asked for golf board, is you have to help us a little bit. We need to get more income. $10,000 and you're not, I mean, that's not even gonna hardly cover our equipment and all the rest of the stuff, you know? So somehow, and I'm not saying raise your rates, but we're gonna have, like Chris says, we need to think outside the box, some way to bring more income into that pool to help with it. So, just something to work with your committee with, Jenny, you know, to help. It's gonna be awful hard when we haven't budgeted, and our budget going forward, we've asked everybody else to do a 10% cut, and also do this, we wanna help. I think the best way we could probably help would be supplies and maintenance and that kind of stuff, your water, I'm thinking.
I mean, there's heating the pool.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And there's
Right.
the electricity for the
Right.
whole thing.
Yep.
It's my understanding that there's still a law that
Insurance.
you have to have a landline phone at the pool. A cell phone does not suffice, so that's another expense.
And I'm not saying we can't, maybe we can budget part of it in there, but I would like to see if you guys could. I think that's that's the biggest part of it.
well, and I hate, like I said earlier, I hate to be a stickler, but I believe when we challenged the committee, it was 2 full years of complete coverage, because we could see at that time, it was gonna be very difficult to work it back into the budget. And we could see how tight the budget was at that time. And honestly, I would have never dreamed it's as nasty as it is now. And with it being as tight as it was then, and it being as nasty as it is now, that's gonna be even more important for us to be able to have you guys assist us in getting it back on course.
We're gonna stand on you pretty hard, so. The
Okay,
leg, I guess.
sure, and I will have another meeting next week, so we'll be talking about it.
But even if the city could come up with half, if they could come up with half of the employees' wages, and then we could.
Right. And I don't think any of the asks that you guys are making are unreasonable.
I know
The
that.
terrible part about it is, we can barely make happen what we can make happen without any part of the pool budget.
So let me,
So asking every department to cut 10% isn't still, I mean, it's gonna just put us a tiny bit more comfortable to cover the things we already need to, yet coming up with $40,000 to $80,000 to help open up that pool again.
I mean,
So it's,
I think that and this is what we'll talk about next week. Buffy had like, I don't know how many, the last year she was open, I think 6 or 7 of those pool parties at night,
Movie nights.
and they brought in some good money. I think that, you know, as we talk about this, the idea that that pool was gonna open again was something a year ago right now, that all of us were going, okay, can you get this done? Okay, it's gonna open. We knew it would, but in our hearts. But anyway, now we have
Feels
to
real.
say, okay,
Yeah.
what are we going to do to make this happen?
Yeah.
And, you know, like some of these activities, and maybe it isn't open, I mean, anyway, doesn't matter, we'll just work together, and I think this can happen, if we work together.
so back to what we've kind of talked about all night is okay, so even to cover half of the wages for the pool, is the community, and I'm not gonna try to pick on any particular department, but I'm just gonna throw out some what ifs. So is Crawford ready to just say, we're not mowing the cemetery anymore? And we're gonna cut Kevin's mowing down to just him, what he can cover, and the library cutting her hours back to
3 days a week.
3 days a week. I mean, these are decisions that the citizens of Crawford need to be okay with if we're going to try to fund lifeguards at the swimming pool.
And again, to put a little more perspective in this too, you know, when Jane brought up, you know, that she felt with some of the funding that we get from the state and well, some of the funding that we get, that it could maybe cover 3% raises for everyone. That really sucked to not be able to give anybody raises again because we chose to do the pool. And they deserve to have that. They've went too long without it. Maybe it's something that we could evaluate not being open the entire summer, and maybe it's for 2.5 months. And half the time open means half the wages, and maybe half of that is something the city can be more apt to afford as opposed to an entire season. So just, I think we've all got a lot of really great ideas, and this all is sounding a lot more attainable than it ever did, and it feels realistic and tangible and a lot closer than we thought it was, and I think that's really encouraging. But maybe that's what we need to come back to at the next one, is how do we substantially make this a lot more affordable?
Okay.
And I would, and by substantially, I think a lot more than 10%. Would that be fair, you think?
Yes. Yeah.
Because I think too, I don't think easing back into this is a terrible idea. I think just having it at all would be wonderful. And if it means only for a few months as opposed to the entire season, that'd still be great. That's something that would help us ease into it. It would not be as much of a cost to you guys, and maybe that's, once we gain steam, maybe once we have other plans that come into fruition and it creates more surplus in other areas, we can go back to supporting it a lot more than that in the long run.
I can see what you're saying. I think it's gonna be awful hard for them to get somebody to hire on and to be on with that on board. You know, get some 15-year-old or 16-year-old who's only gonna do a part-time gig. I don't know, Jenny.
We got 2 part-time jobs now. I mean, look at the Fort.
It
That's a
is
good
already
point.
a very specialized
That is
position.
a good point,
Yes.
actually. Maybe that in conjunction with.
Right.
That's a very good point.
And
Yeah.
that's what Buffy has really been talking
Yeah.
about all this whole year is, okay,
We just,
I can come in and help do swimming lessons, and then I can go out the fort pool. Maybe this girl could, this 15-year-old can only get 40 hours at the fort, then she can come in here and get 10 hours
Sure.
in Crawford.
that's not a
And
bad idea.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
you know, I think
That
that
would
if
this
we had
true.
some evening things,
Mhm.
okay, it's done
Right.
at 7 o'clock, okay, yeah, the kids might be tired, but they're young, they'll sleep. And, you know, that is something that she and those kids have been talking about.
That's a-
Well, and it might not be entirely inappropriate too, that once we come to something that works better for us, maybe we could even go so far, and I'll volunteer, let me put it that way. I volunteered to ask the state for other things. I will volunteer to ask them for this. But maybe we ask them to adjust their hours. They're open as early as noon. Maybe they need to close at 5 or 6, and they cut their hours back by 1 or 2, or maybe 1.5. And then we could do more of a solid evening swim here in town. And that's not a huge ask,
Right.
but you never know if you don't ask.
Yeah.
And I would be more than happy to
Well, even if the way it is now, I mean, if
To be
you give,
guppy.
if this one didn't open until 8 o'clock at night and it was open till
10,
10.
10.
Sure.
yeah.
Or,
I
well, you know, these kids, they stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning.
Well,
and
when does it go dark? I mean, it's 9:30
9:30.
around here, so I mean,
And
that's
there's
not,
lights here.
yeah.
Yes, we
that's
do
not-
have lights, yes. But maybe that is just a simple ask. Maybe that's not something that we all need to, we as the city and the committee we as the in-town
Yes.
people with our
Yes.
pool, maybe that's not something we need to, maybe it's just a simple ask of, could we ask you to adjust your hours by 1, maybe 1.5? So that way we could implement something stronger in the evenings to help us maintain the revenue that we need to make this happen again. And that might not be bad. And maybe that's something we can do back and forth. And maybe that's a perfect reason why the city helped them with what we've helped them with
Right.
in the last
Right.
2 years.
Right.
So I have no problem calling and
Right.
saying, hey,
Yeah.
when you asked me to help make sure kids came out there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thrilled to help you out.
Or that we're.
But I'd
paying
like
for
to
some
ask something in
lifeguards.
return now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And maybe that's part of the barter we can use, and like I
Yes.
said, I have no problem being served up for that if need be.
One of the things that has in the last few years really bothered me is that there seems to be we're just talking here, seems to be a competition between Fort Robinson and Crawford. Fort Robinson exists because of Crawford. Fort Robinson doesn't exist because of Crawford, but Crawford has always existed because of Fort Robinson. Always. It was established because of Fort Robinson, but without the Crawford businesses and that type of thing, then when I said that first statement, I wasn't quite stating it the way I wanted to. Without the businesses, Fort Robinson didn't exist very well either, because the soldiers wanted to come to Crawford, Nebraska.
Sure.
And they did every weekend. So I think that they can work together.
I agree with you,
Because
Moni.
they
I had the opportunity to speak to a lot of the leaders out there in setting up this bus schedule and the pass schedule and whatnot. And that was something that we both verbalized, that we didn't enjoy the not working together the way it's been for a long time, and that we really enjoyed this opportunity to work together, and that we both saw that it was beneficial for both of us for that to be the future. So that is encouraging.
And speaking from the businesses, we have reached out to the Fort, and they have been coming to our chamber meetings and being part of it, so they are trying, yeah, and we're trying, it goes both ways.
We are codependent on each other.
Well, yes, I agree with you, Moni. But you really wanna solve this issue? We need more businesses, even tourist businesses in town, getting those people that are tourists out there to spend money here so that we have more sales tax to fund a pool.
It's a vicious
That is
circle.
the long scenic route to it, but yes, that would also be helpful.
City thrives on sales tax and
They do.
nothing else.
That'd be great. And then we don't have to come up with it out of our pockets, which we already know we don't have.
Mhm.
Correct.
I feel bad about the sales tax thing, because I don't think I really realized what was going on at the time. I don't think it was put out there the way that, I just didn't really understand.
No, we should have done a better campaign. This
Because
council should have,
I really
Yes.
believe that. It
You know,
should have
when you're
been done.
limited on funds, so how you can do it? Go
Because-
door to door and explain to every
Well,
person.
And legally,
How
we
do
are
you get-
limited on how we
how do you
can
get
present it and
communication
what
out
time
to
frame we
people?
can present it to.
Yes.
Yes.
So
we're
we do
limited.
have our own limitations,
So-
but
how do you communicate to this town? Paper only hits certain people, Facebook only hits certain people. I mean, the radio only hits certain people. How do you get to everybody so they know what's going on?
but Hay Springs got theirs, but only by, what'd you say, like just two votes or something like that?
Other than going door to
Yeah.
door, it's an aggravating situation.
In '76,
We can't do anything about it.
there
now.
was a sales tax. And it was, the city did vote, and that helped fund the vote.
Yeah, it would have been a huge boon, or not a huge boon, it would have been huge help.
well, and
Going
that
forward.
that is maybe a great way to reintroduce that for the future, is that sales tax we had estimated to generate an extra $50,000, and that would have easily covered what we're looking to try and cover.
Right here now.
I think a lot of this is still up in the air, and I think it'd be fair to round out with what we have today and call it good and come back to it. Cause I think probably both sides need to find out more answers. You guys need to have more time for more answers. Do you feel like we've covered enough, or would you like to cover more?
I was just thinking about that, and I guess, I don't know that this budget particularly needs to change the numbers that are in it, I think it's the MOU and the agreements in who's funding this. Does that make sense?
That's figured out, yes.
And that's not, I mean, you could put a 0 in there, but they're still city employees if this is your pool. And so,
I do agree with you to a certain extent, but if there's no money to put in this budget, it doesn't matter what we put here, the funding won't be there.
but if we have an agreement that says we're going to do that, you would.
Then we could put it in the,
That's what
yes,
I'm
correct.
saying.
Okay, I see what you're
Yeah.
saying
I
now,
think
yes.
you're right, 100%. And I apologize, I thought.
Well, I think it'd be fair to challenge all of us to look at that MOU more specifically and see what exactly we'd like to see different to be able to be agreeable. I get that back to you guys, so you guys can assess it again to make it more
I don't even
agreeable.
remember what it says.
Well, and yeah, but I do think that's the appropriate track, and maybe it needs to have more of a rush on it than what we thought because of budget.
So then, I would say then let's just put it on the agenda so that we can all
Sure,
Yeah, I thought we'd have.
bounce
it
stuff.
I shouldn't have it figured out.
no,
I am so, I seen it, I approved it, we were good to go, that was good, so.
no,
I
it was
apologize.
not good on both sides, so.
Okay.
Last time I looked, you weren't perfect.
Huh?
The next
Last time I
one.
looked, you weren't perfect.
The next one, and I'll call Adam about that tomorrow.
If
So-
you want me to give you the rest of these numbers, I certainly can. I mean, I just,
Well,
Pretty much
I
what
agree
you're
with the
saying.
mayor, I think we need to get
like
that
you s-
MOU and figure out who's.
We
He's the
need
one that has
we
the
need
copy
to-
of it.
Right, but we need to hash it out and then tell him.
Correct, but he has
How
the
to write
latest
it.
copy to
Okay.
share that we can
Okay.
hash out. Cause it's went through a couple copies through him.
So do we need to
So
have
that's
a
why we need to
special
start with
meeting to
that.
hash that out?
Not necessarily, no,
Okay.
that's something that he can share the latest copy to each of you, and you
Each
guys
of
can
them
each share back with
respond.
him how you feel on it,
And that
and then
was,
he can compile those to then be considered for the next meeting.
yeah, I think that was what happened, was not everybody responded, so I think you're right, yeah, so we need to get that done.
Yeah. Thank you, ladies,
Thank
appreciate you
you
showing
very
up and,
much.
and all the knowledge you brought with us and effort
Trying to do
and
our part.
compassion, all of it, so thank you.
Thank you for listening.
So, Jenny, unless there's somebody scheduled for the community building about next Friday, you wanna meet with me?
I think I can do that.
Have you guys ever thought of taking that community building and changing it into a wedding venue?
So, the,
I mean, I wasn't here for the early part of this, so.
the golf course has been working on,
As an excellent option for that.
as an option for a wedding venue.
Well,
Yeah.
but the golf course isn't quite big enough for a wedding venue. And the community building is.
So it is, but it's got a terrible layout for what people have asked. So that's always the complaint we get back is that it's not effective for what they want it to be, and therefore it's not used very often.
And someone like me that has bad hearing, I can't hear
Thing, yeah.
anything in that.
But
In
could
that-
something be changed
See,
inside
that-
there?
That's what Larry Olson years ago, that's what he had visioned for the, down there, was putting a gazebo down there and then using the fish hatchery and re-renovating it, and they had all the grants. I don't know what ever happened to that.
That's what's
Talking
actually
about-
come forward with something that was
So-
revisited before, and
Right.
we've had those people come forward
Oh.
again and want to,
Perfect,
so that it is probably, I'm assuming, my apologies, I am assuming that this is tied to this, because they did say that they had come, and
right,
it lost steam, and then
Right.
it went away, but they reached out and wanted to know if we were interested again. I said, you betcha we're interested,
Yeah.
we're always interested, you wanna throw money at me, I will say yes.
it's a beautiful area.
Was
mean,
what I said.
Yeah, if you wanna re-innovate something and use it to where it generate, that's a beautiful area.
Well, maybe that's what the hatchery needs to become. You need to have some third
Right.
party that's willing to develop that building into an
a
events
venue,
venue,
right.
and they
I don't-
maintain and do the
I don't
business
think we
and,
generate near what it costs us from wedding venues, cause you'd only use it probably on the weekends, I'm presuming, if you had it booked every time. Enough revenue to generate to pay for the cost of this building. So we need to think bigger, not that it's a bad idea, no, I don't think it is, but I think that, yeah, we've got properties that would probably be more scenic and probably be,
Well, it
More
has
Chapter
a-
would be awesome.
It
Yeah.
has a
Yeah.
photographer, the golf course and the fish hatchery
That'd be
is
great.
much better places for a wedding.
100%.
I mean, and the community building, unless you lowered that, unless you put up a bunch of trees, unless you did some work on there. But if, you know, it would be better, that would maybe be a side part, but if they could do something, I mean, I've shot a lot of pictures of weddings at that fish hatchery when it was still a fish hatchery,
Right, it's
that's how
beautiful
old I
then,
am.
yeah.
And the golf course is a little tough.
Yeah.
But it can still
Yeah.
generate some great pictures and yes. that's
So,
what I would
before we
think.
adjourn, I don't even know where, I've been trying to put, where I'm gonna put this in, but I talked to you before about starting up a venue or getting a board put together for the grounds. Is this someplace we need to address this now? Is this I would like to get this on the agenda, get it started. I know I don't really need to have it, but we're looking
It
forward
doesn't need to
next
be
year.
on the budget.
No, it doesn't, some of the
Well, it
things
kinda
that we wanna
would.
do-
Because if you're gonna be generating revenue by
Right.
having events, then right now, we don't have a GL other than the park to put that
So that
under.
would be
So
developed
that
with that
would-
board.
That would have to go under park.
Right,
Okay.
and so I would like to get
start.
this on
Sure.
the agenda so we can get this started and get a.
I was gonna bring that up
Yeah.
earlier when we were talking about park and I forgot.
Well, I just didn't know where to put it in, so, if we could get that, then I can get everybody together, maybe get some numbers put together, kind of what we wanna do and what we're looking, a vision, per se.
Sure,
No way, no way, because you're only be limited what we can do
Yeah,
here.
and
Right.
I'll talk to him maybe
Okay.
this
Right.
weekend
So
and we'll
that-
get some sort of
that's
story
great.
going.
Yeah,
I've got
Yeah.
a couple of
Yeah, that
ideas
would be maybe
we
good
need
for
to
tomorrow.
think
So
about.
there, we don't have money per se to put into
But maybe
anything
we
right
can
now,
talk
but
about
what,
It'd be a matter of what revenue was developed and what utilities were used.
what
You know,
But
we
we
would
would
like to put
wrestling
camping
right now.
spots
Right.
in there.
Well,
What
about
Brian and I
wrestling
have talked
trade
about
association.
was
Okay,
any,
yeah.
any
Anyway.
money that came
There-
into
there's some-
the
there's
use
some
of
things
the,
that need to be done.
generated from the use of the venue would
Thank you, guys.
be
Thank you.
I
put
have
back
to go run
into
horses there, they're gonna
fix
yell.
improving the venue. So it'd still be money
Electrical
in, money out, but
Fixing up, fix,
the rodeo grounds.
any, yeah. Yeah, what GP race grounds,
It'd be more
whatever it
like,
is, it'd be a
it'd be
bleacher
like an
structure.
event board
Yes.
that has to do with all of the area that would be considered the recreation area of the
Right.
city. So it would be a board that's in charge of any events that happen that are, so that way it would be all encompassing. It would be any events that happen within the park, the rodeo grounds,
What
The
should
probably,
be-
but not including the golf course is really what that would be. So
No,
it would be
but-
everything else.
Yeah, it would, the racetrack,
Yeah.
the
Shooting range,
shooting range.
the
all
mud
that,
track,
the mud
all
track.
of that. So
all
it would
that
be
And
a,
their job is to bring venues in and then we will charge accordingly.
would
and
be
then
in
that
charge
money
of
comes
all the
back.
events.
Right, come back, so I would like to get to that.
I have two questions, okay,
You bet.
let's, the Friday thing, what time were you thinking? I will put it in the calendar if you got a time.
Whenever.
Um,
How early do you get going?
I've been going out on the prairie at 7 o'clock in the morning, so.
I could do
do you
8,
wanna-
9, 10,
Do you wanna
11.
do it with the board?
Probably not, because then you'd have to post a meeting.
Oh, okay,
So,
All right.
I mean, I could meet with select members
But
of the
one or two,
board,
yeah.
so you don't have a quorum, and, obviously, somebody off of this, council.
This is more of a visionary meeting than it
yes,
is.
yes,
any
yeah, and I
kind of-
get that, I just was forgetting the quarantine. Okay, so let's put that one in at, do you wanna do 8 o'clock?
Okay.
Okay. And then my next question is, next budget workshop, meeting, hearing, whatever we do, what are we looking at for time?
as
The
far as
next-
the date for the next time we meet.
Well,
That would be
or,
the final meeting.
okay, but we've got some work to more conversations is what I'm
Sure.
heard. What do you wanna
Like
do?
another workshop? Do we have a date between all of that we could,
I think we have one date.
Yeah, I mean, there's what, general and golf left, I think we have a list out here.
we could maybe piggyback another one of those just to have it be more than one instead of just one?
So Jenny, that's not this Friday, but next Friday.
Yes,
Okay.
14th.
I think
So we have 12th is golf in general, on the 19th is water and sewer, 26th is the final.
Oh, we don't have one in between, I thought we had a date in between.
it would be fair to do that after water and sewer.
I would
That
say
way it gets
so.
time, you guys
Mhm.
have time to
Yeah.
generate more ideas. Let's piggyback a second park, pool and community building meeting for workshop, on the same night as water and
19th.
sewer.
That's the 19th.
19th.
Okay.
So we will meet again
5:30, well, you guys probably don't need to be here till right,
August
6:30.
19th.
You think we'll do water and sewer that fast? We haven't gotten through even the easy
You
ones.
know, I'm not giving you my 2 cents.
We would like you to be here for the entire meeting, that way
Yeah.
whatever happens, you guys
I
are
get it.
available,
I
thank
get it.
you.
I'm sorry, I tried.
No, that's fine.
All right, well,